Stephen Sarge Guilfoyle, he's an iconic figure on Wall Street, a great read of these trends. So Sarge, I ended with you. I want to get your take on, does this make any difference at all this latest vaccine back and forth? If you're a Microsoft investor and you see it at an all-time high and everyone's recommending it and raising price targets, and you're looking at airlines, they're coming back and analysts are raising price targets, they're not weighing any of these worries in, it would seem, for the time being. What do you do?
Well, I definitely think you have to consider it. I do believe that the variant is probably, well, not just this variant, any variant that comes along now is probably going to put us in a position where you either get vaccinated or you get COVID. Those are your choices. Maybe, unfortunately, some people get both. So I think the initial jobless claims this morning told us that some people are probably a little bit afraid. Maybe some businesses maybe slowed down reopening. The airlines are optimistic. Of course they are. Their revenue was, 3-4 times what it had been a year ago because there was no business a year ago.
Right.
As an investor, I'm probably shying away from the airlines, maybe just Southwest because they're domestic, but I'm more interested in materials like Alcoa, Freeport-McMoRan, Southern Copper, and the railroads that carry them. As we see, the railroads have just been fantastic. Yeah, Union Pacific and Chessie the last 2 days.
You know, if you buy that, out there that transports and you look at them, Michelle, it usually telegraphs good news, continuing good news for the rest of the market. All this noise notwithstanding, I'm not minimizing that noise, but obviously the market is looking at a bigger, greener picture. Are you?
Well, I actually believe that we may be more range-bound than anything else. Do I think we're going to rock and roll to new highs? We may see that if it happens anywhere, it would be in NASDAQ. But I'm really, really skeptical about what's going to happen with small caps and even transportation. Yes, the airlines have definitely all come down because of the new scares and also the federal payroll support. With the earnings being good, they're backwards looking. We're looking forwards. So look at the transportation. What are they carrying? Just as SARS just said, they're carrying raw materials. And I still, no matter how many times I go through this in my head, I still think we're going for economic slowdown as we get into the third and fourth quarter. And I still think that these raw materials are going to continue to rise, especially now with the new variants, supply chain disruption, labor issues, as we've been talking about. And that puts us at a real risk of a stagflation environment as we go into 2022. And I cannot get that away from my brain right now.
Well, maybe because of the last two inflationary periods, that's what happened. So, Stephen, what do you make of that? You can't separate the two. Prices go up. Eventually, things slow down. Are we near that point, or is that something we have to be aware of?
I agree with Michelle 10,000%. I see an economic slowdown, at least an acceleration over the next couple of quarters. I don't know if I see a recession down the road. It's possible. The markets are trying to price in right now fiscal policy because it's an uncertainty. And that would be a boost to the markets because it would inflate valuation once again, which right now inflation is teetering with coming back to reality. So basically, I think, we might be past peak inflation too. There's so many things we could discuss, but I believe that economically speaking, we are probably going to slow down a little bit and going in a totally different direction. That's why you never abandon tech.
Yeah, it's interesting because tech has been very resilient to all of this and all the promised investigations and antitrust concerns and breaking these puppies up. They seem to be, almost bulletproof, Michelle. You never say that, but because as soon as you do, boom, there's a bullet. I'm just beginning to wonder what keeps them going so strong. I mean, you could make credible arguments for each and every one of the power plays and Apple and all of this and promise about new offerings later this year. Microsoft is its own story, but what keeps them going?
Well, right now, interest rates have been a big positive for the big tech. That's number one. Number two is they all got a boost last year because as people are staying home, regardless of what happens in the future, the survey that just came out said that about 1/3 of people that were polled may not go back to work, or at least it won't look like the way it used to. So that's going to keep technology firm because that's what we're all dependent on. If you talk to somebody like Cathie Wood, she thinks that technology is the future because it's eventually going to be so efficient that we won't have to worry about things like raw materials. But we're not there yet. But one lesson we should learn from Monday was when the Dow dropped 700, all of the NASDAQ stocks and the mega cap stocks fell too. So gravity definitely takes hold at some point. But again, I agree with Sarge. I do nothing. And then Sarge, I'm sorry if you prefer Stephen or Sarge. I'm a little confused there. But I definitely think that we're in a situation here where we have to keep our eye on what's going to happen with the growth of this economy. First and foremost, once we do the back to normal, we may get another surge as global economies come back. But right here, right now, I am definitely thinking that whether the mega cap stocks continue to go up or not, you have to watch what happens with the small caps because everything can get dragged down. Buy the dip, that's what we've been trained for. And I don't believe we're going into a recession either, by the way. I think stagnation is really where we're heading.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and the SAR